Hello and welcome to eCapital Advisors installment of the August Oracle Planning and Budgeting Cloud, or PBCS release, where we'll be covering the latest updates for the month. So for those of you that have joined us before, you will know that we kind of start with a short intro on eCapital Advisors. So to talk a little bit about who we are an analytics and data consulting firm headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we really, over the last 17 years or so, have worked to build long-term relationships and take projects in many industries and many technologies that all of the clients we've worked with just beyond the technical deliverables. We're looking to achieve full partnership and understand, all functions of your organization as well as what their goals are, so that we can work cross-functionally to ensure the success to the greatest degree of any project that we're working in. Because of that, we're dedicated to ongoing excellence, and we look to empower not only our consultants, but our clients. And so if anything in here strikes you as interesting, feel free to reach out to either Jay or myself, and we can put you in contact with the right people for what has kind of piqued your interest. A little more about eCapital. We are established. We have around 80 employees with teams based in 14 states across the country, working nationally and sometimes internationally with our lovely clients. We're right around that $25 million mark in revenue with around 22% annual growth, and really starting to grow in not only our core EPM and analytics practices, but as well as our advisory services departments that are a little newer in the last year or two. As part of that, we focus not only on EPM, which is what PBCS is, but data architecture, data governance, cognitive and predictive analytics, data visualization, self-service, data science, and many of the other facets of the analytics industry. We perform implementations, upgrades, managed services support, training in what we call eCapital University. We have over 300 customers globally. And again, we provide full advisory, road mapping, or program management services, hosting private cloud services, managed services, all the way down to very individual technical software implementations as well. We've spanned multiple industries, some of the bigger ones being these ones you see on the screen, such as retail, healthcare, financial, manufacturing, education, and transportation. Beyond that, we have worked in multiple Fortune companies within each of those industries, and so we would like to think that we bring a lot of different experience to the table as far as what each industry's KPIs are, what drives their business, and what their challenges might be. So again, we would encourage anyone who's interested to reach out, and we can help you leverage that expertise. We like to also show a NASCAR slide, so here again is just some proof of that experience across multiple industries, as well as multiple companies within each of those multiple industries. So again, nationally as well as with the headquarters in Minneapolis, a lot of those companies. As you may know, my name is Eric Milbrandt speaking now. I'm a senior consultant on the EPM practice within eCapital, and my webinar partner in crime is Jay Adler, who's also an EPM consultant here at eCapital, who you will hear from later in the webinar presentation. So this webinar is focused solely on PBCS, or the Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service, which is Oracle's cloud version of the on-premise Hyperion Planning S-based solution. They also have Financial Close, which is the HFM equivalent, data management, and FDME in the cloud as well. During these webinars, we strive to keep our customers apprised of the coming updates, and we really like to get these out prior to the updates reaching customers' production environments. These features and upgrades hit test usually a week or two before. And so what we kind of start with, for those who might not know, is a quick aside on what PBCS is. We get into the new features, and then we talk about any support updates, meaning usually what support is being pulled in the future. So what is PBCS? PBCS, again, is the cloud version of Oracle's long-standing industry-leading Hyperion planning and S-based solution. It is kind of centered on a nice visual simplified interface, which has been rolled out in more of the later on-prem versions. It has native reporting and dashboarding, as you can see here. Forms and business rules for real-time calculations, just like the on-prem versions. And really just a quicker upgrade and maintenance cycle. So PBCS, obviously, since it's a cloud solution, is given bug fixes, enhancements, and upgrades much more frequently and much more easily than the on-prem solution, which leads to, we think, faster innovation, quicker iterations for incremental feature enhancements. It maintains that stake as a modern global platform because of this. And again, those major release and upgrade cycles are shorter, so if there are problems, they tend to be fixed a little sooner than on-prem instances. Deployments are faster because there's no on-prem hardware to worry about. things are pre-installed and pre-configured, and they tend to be lower cost deployments because what you have, again, are obviously no hardware, but it's a subscription-based model instead of a bucket of users as well as hardware and any licenses for products you may or may not be using. Above and beyond all of that, it's a lower risk product suite because downtime is really as close to zero as humanly possible, whereas traditional IT departments have to have downtime for things like hardware upgrades, server upgrades, and things like that. Oracle's cloud tends to run into the minutes, a month tops, where most organizations we have experience with are hours, if not more, per month. So quite a bit different of a downtick in downtime for the cloud solutions as well. Also, don't forget about EPBCS, which is a little pricier, but it is the Enterprise Planning and Budgeting Cloud service. And what that does is it includes a slightly different licensing model with some additional pre-built modules such as financials, CapEx, workforce, projects, and a little longer-term, higher-level strategic modeling. And so if people want to roll out a little quicker and have something to start with out of the box, this kind of EPBCS is a nice way to jumpstart your implementation with some more powerful pre-built modules. There are also some updates because of these specific modules that come out only for EPBCS that we do cover when there are some. There are not any this month, just a heads up. And again, EPBCS has those additional modules, and the Oracle Cloud itself spans multiple functions such as the Sales Cloud for CRM and some of these other things as well. So Oracle's really striving to be an all-in-one cloud solution for many of the important functional IT solutions. As everybody knows, if they've worked with Hyperion, and if they haven't, might be interested to learn, the SmartView Office add-in, especially for Excel, is an industry-leading tool that allows direct integration with the planning and budgeting cloud services right into Excel, PowerPoint, or Word. What this means is that slides can be created as a standard report or presentation every month and simply refreshed directly from the database in PowerPoint, in Word, or Excel. Also, accountants and financial analysts really prefer to work in Excel, as that has been the industry standard for decades, and so being able to model and pull the data in with sub-second retrieves in Excel is very important. And so, again, I would say Oracle on-prem as well as in the cloud is kind of the industry leader as far as Excel integration. So getting into the new features today for the August update, there are maybe an average amount, but we'll get into what they are, and here's the outline today. So as you can see, some incremental export and import behavior changes, which is actually a rollback from errors that were experienced last month, which we'll talk about. The classic dimension editor is still going to be going away. There are some Infolets and FR Studio changes, and an updated vision sample application as well. So we'll get into all of these in detail here in the coming slides. One other thing we like to touch on in the beginning of every one of these webinars is the Oracle Cloud Customer Connect, which is a place that users should go and register in order to be kept in the loop as far as things like release info, upcoming events, Q&A forums, as well as a way to provide documentation feedback. So they take that there as well as at epmdoc_ww@oracle.com, and this will allow Oracle to gain feedback on anyone using the PBCS service to drive future enhancements and future upgrades. They welcome the feedback, and it definitely actually gets integrated into the future releases on a monthly basis. So if there are any questions, concerns, or feedback, Oracle encourages everybody to email that address. So now jumping into this month's update schedule, the updates were loaded into everybody's test environment about a week ago on August 3rd, and about a week from today they will hit the production environment. So everyone will be able to do some testing if they so choose, and we recommend, and really go check out these new features and make sure they're fine. So again, August 3rd availability was in test and will be available or roll to production on the 17th next week, or in about a week. So the first change I want to talk about today is the incremental export change. So if anyone viewed our webinar or kept track of the updates last month, there was changes to kind of full and incremental snapshots, and there were actually some issues that came up with pre-configured automated backups not running properly, and so there were some customer requests to kind of change this. Basically what that means is now in the incremental exports and imports, many of the objects that were grayed out or unavailable for import and export have now been added in order to keep those things working, as well as people might want to use some of these things that folks would consider a full export as an incremental export as well. So again, all the artifacts, text values, details, annotations, journals, etc. are now allowed to be imported. And so this, again, has been rolled back to keep things that were already built functioning. So if there were any issues people saw in test, this was kind of the reason for that. And again, at our clients, we've seen these things been remedied, and they did not make it to the production rollout last month. The next change this month that we'll talk about is the form currency calculation restriction. So in PBCS, there's something called a simplified multi-currency application, which basically creates currency members in the account dimension, which is how a lot of us like to custom build anyway, and then it allows entry at input or local currencies to be rolled to many main or reporting currencies. Each application generally has one main currency, but is allowed to have many reporting currencies. And what this does is it stores rates by scenario version year, again, like most of us prefer to custom build anyway. And this new option for simplified multi-currency applications allows folks to restrict the form's calculations by the time period scenario version year for each rate set, kind of narrowing the standard calculations for currency on the form based on that, again, time period scenario version year. A little more about simplified multi-currency. We like to custom build this in with currency members in the account dimension because it's just a little more flexible, but this is a nice way that gets close to what we think is an ideal way to build it. And so, again, having multiple input currencies and one reporting currency as the standard is what this is facilitating. So if there are any questions there, feel free to reach out. There's Googling for about simplified multi-currency and some other links in the Oracle docs that are pretty helpful as well. Another nice change this month regarding Infolets in the designer, there is a new properties panel. So when working with any individual Infolet, it is no longer necessary to go to every section in order to edit things like the name, and other properties, things like subtitles, chart type, sizes, and so on. And so rather than kind of wandering through the maze of different screens and options, this is all now, as you can see in the image here, in one place. So again, header, subtitle, size, chart type, data, and form. So as we move through each individual Infolet on a dashboard or one at a time, this panel is now there to quickly edit those sorts of things, which, as people may understand if they've worked with these, takes a little bit of time to change 10. Now this will be much faster, I would say. So that's a nice update for user experience. Another update regarding Infolets is now, as well as dashboards, is it's now something that is integrated into the traditional form folders. And so what that means is, just like forms, which are organized in the form section of PBCS under library there, and everyone in on-prem knows that this is very similar, dashboards and Infolets will now be organized into the same folder structure using the same security and can be accessed there. So some good integration with the way things have already been built as far as accessing dashboards and Infolets. And I will now turn it over to Jay Adler to kind of handle the back half of this presentation and take us out today. So thank you for paying attention to my portion, and I'll turn it over to Jay now.
Thank you, Eric. So the next round of updates here coming out in August, reaching your implementation, are around the Financial Reporting Studio. The first one specifically here is an enhancement which comes in the form of a server setting which you manage through your server management tools within the FR Web Studio. So what we're seeing this month come through is a setting that's called Run Batch with Signed On User Credentials, with the default setting for this set to false. Now what this means for you is an extra setting which provides a toggle for whether or not you're prompted to enter user credentials in the workspace batch scheduler based on FR reporting batches. So it's giving you the option to, as an admin, decide whether or not users, when they're either scheduling a batch or when they're running a batch from the scheduler, whether or not they are then prompted by default to enter credentials, or whether or not they can schedule or run a batch just using their credentials that they are already logged in as. So a little bit of flexibility there, maybe keeping you from having an extra couple clicks or keystrokes when setting up batches. And the next FR update is an update surrounding support for the FR Desktop Studio. So as of this month, August of 2018, Oracle will no longer be distributing the Financial Reporting Desktop Studio installer, and along with that, they are removing functionality for command line utilities using the FR Desktop client. So coming next month in September, the Financial Reporting Desktop Studio will no longer be available. What this means is you'll need to be using that Web Studio, which is kind of been what Oracle has been communicating for the last year or so or more here, trying to get everyone onto the Web Studio, and that'll be the option moving forward. One thing to note here with this update, in August, Oracle is moving all existing customers with FR to their Oracle Financial Reporting repository. And what this means for customers is users will have to go in and update their user preferences in financial reporting in the Web Studio, as user preferences have not been migrated along with this change. For new customers who started using FR in the May timeframe or later, you'll already be in this repository on the back end, so you won't have to worry about making any changes there. The next update this month is bringing to you more flexibility with the Vision Sample application that comes with every PBCS and EPBCS implementation. So a couple things that are coming to the sample app this month. One is support for Infolets. So this is allowing you to go in that Vision Sample application and play around and do some real testing on Infolets, bringing some quick reference analysis and facts to you via some interactive small dashboarding that's customizable. And this is something that can be designed again around your navigation flows interface too for referencing. The next thing that is coming to the Vision application this month is a new setting available for administrators to apply. And what this setting is allowing or disallowing users to be able to enter data in web forms on rows that have been tagged as suppress missing. So when you set up your data form and there's suppress missing on rows, typically if there is a row with no data in it, you wouldn't see that row and be able to input data. But I think for the sake of testing here in the Vision application and having more of an administrative type function as a user now, this is becoming available to the Vision application. Another update, there are 3 new smart forms that are coming along with the Vision application this month, one of which involves or is built around using some Excel functions. Another one uses Excel formulas, and the third one was designed and implemented using the Smart View interface. So just a few more tools to use in the Vision application when you're going through and testing on different subjects in your implementation. And another update that's hitting the Vision app is a navigation flows update. And what this means to you is more ability within the Vision application to set up connections for your users to access PBCS and other Oracle Cloud offerings via one interface and be able to navigate based on clusters that way. And there is another update as well, which is just a redesign of some of the clustering within the simplified interface, which you might notice if you are spending time in the Vision application doing testing, things like that. So just some more functionality coming at you, being available within the sample app to get you kind of up to speed with PBCS or to do some heavy testing, whatever you use the app for. And that is what comes with August. The next update here is for new documentation from Oracle. So in Oracle's documentation for designing Calculation Manager and working with business rules, this month they've added extra documentation, a new module, if you will, for optimizing business rules. This comes with first the steps to optimize business rules, ways to identify slow-running business rules, and then actually changes that you can make to implement more efficient calculation scripts within your business rules, just to get kind of more out of the calculation functionality here. So look for that on the Oracle documentation if you're having any issues with slow-running calculations in PBCS. And that does it for August enhancements and updates for PBCS. Notice we didn't have any this month for EPBCS specifically, but as I think Eric mentioned earlier, each update for PBCS also applies to the enterprise product as well. So that does it for August. Next we have a couple updates on Oracle support. So the first of which, if you're familiar with our webinar series, you've seen before. Also, if you're keeping tabs on updates as they come available. Classic Dimension Editor is being transitioned to the PBCS native member properties management tool. This has been something that's been around for a while now, and Oracle's been communicating their, I guess, sunsetting or deletion of the Classic Dimension Editor for quite some time, and they've been pushing back the time frame on this. Now it's looking to be about October when you'll no longer be able to use Classic Dimension Editor for your metadata management in your applications. And so you'll need to be using at that time the the simplified interface is kind of Excel formatted metadata management tool for dimensionality. And another sunsetting update is having to do with composite forms. So now Oracle is saying that you will no longer have the ability to create composite data forms in PBCS come January of 2019. This was originally slotted to be earlier, kind of similarly to the classic dimension editor, but now they're allowing for a little bit more ramp-up time for users to get and organizations to adjust and get familiar with using dashboarding as an alternative to composite forms, which is really what they're pushing for now. I think we're seeing a lot of improvements with the dashboarding, and that's going to be kind of the go-to for accessing multiple data sets that you would traditionally set up using a composite form. So again, January of 2019 is when you can look to no longer have the ability to set up new composite data web planning forms. And that does it for the support updates for this August release. So we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us today, and hopefully you got some good information out of these updates that are coming down the pipe. I think we're continuing to see that there's always improvements that are coming our way for new customers and existing. So just kind of recap on our monthly webinars here. This is really what we're looking to do, is just bring you this information in a timely manner, kind of condensed so that you can digest what's coming out to your system. So you can kind of maximize your investment and get the most out of the tools and technology being used here, and help you kind of check those boxes as you move through your monthly updates. And you can always be prepared to get the maximum out of the newest technology available. So along with our webinar series here, we definitely encourage you to subscribe, which then will blast you with updates, and you'll be able to keep up on our videos so that you know exactly what's coming your way with your implementation, as well as provide some key information for customers who may be interested in some cloud-based budgeting and forecasting, those types of activities. So definitely subscribe. There's a lot of good information coming your way. So the voice you're hearing now is myself, Jay Adler, and as well as you heard from Eric Milbrandt earlier. If you have any questions on any of the content here in this video, or any questions surrounding cloud planning or PBCS or enterprise in general, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to start a conversation and talk to you about your organizational needs and how we can best assist or provide some value to you as you look to maximize the technology that you may have available. So again, thank you for joining us this month, and we look forward to getting back to you next month with the September round of updates. So thanks.